The first sound wasn't laughter. It was disbelief sharp, echoing across the ridgeline like a rifle crack wrapped in words. What's a Navy woman doing with a real sniper rifle playing dress-up for Instagram 3 seconds in? The hook landed. Chief Petty Officer Arin Blackwood Hayes didn't answer. She simply adjusted the Macmillan TAC-50 on its bipod, her face hidden behind the scope's reflection. The Afghan wind clawed at her hood as the rangers behind her chuckled. Out here, on observation post Raven overlooking Korai Valley, the air itself carried judgment. 30 seconds later, the valley filled the frame, endless sand ridges folding into Pakistan's gray horizon. Somewhere down there, an American contractor was on his knees, a hostage. The rangefinder blinked red 200 meters. Hayes's breath fogged the glass. 8 years in naval special warfare, hundreds of missions, and still every new detachment began the same way, men laughing because the person behind the scope was her. The 7th Ranger Battalion Recon hadn't said it aloud, but their smirks did. Navy. Woman. Tourist. She ignored them. Her hands moved with the precision of ritual, leveling the rifle, checking the Kestrel 5700 logging wind at 8 miles per hour. Cross-valley gusts spiking to 15. Numbers whispered logic where pride shouted noise. The radio cracked. Hostage confirmed. Execution window possible within 6 hours. Hayes's jaw set. 6 hours meant the Rangers would wait, plan, storm, and maybe arrive to clean up what was left. Through her scope, she found the flicker of sunlight off a window, a signal. A play. Her mother's voice surfaced. Calm. Exact. Find the stillness between heartbeats. She did. And as the laughter faded behind her, she whispered to no one. If they won't take the shot, I will. Where are you watching from? Soldier sound off in the comments and drop your city or country below. Hit subscribe to join our ranks. More missions are waiting for you. Dust hissed across the outpost's steel catwalks, whispering through the gaps in the camo net, like a warning no one wanted to hear. Chief Petty Officer Arin Blackwood Hayes lay prone beside her rifle, surrounded by the quiet hum of machines that couldn't feel the weight of what she was about to attempt. Below, Korai Valley stretched for miles, fractured rock, wind-scoured ridges, and a hostile compound carved into the earth like a wound that never healed. Through her scope, she saw movement, 2 guards trading places, one man adjusting a tripod camera, somewhere behind those walls. Ethan Mercer waited for a rescue that might come too late. The Rangers had their plan fast, loud, and full of explosives. Hayes had something quieter: math, muscle memory, and a calm born from years of proving people wrong. Her Macmillan TAC-50 rested against the dirt. The barrel hand-lapped and custom-fitted before deployment. The trigger broke clean at 2.5 pounds. The round's 750-grain 50 BMG match handloads were her own creation. Each one weighed, measured, temperature-indexed, and signed off in her ballistic logbook. She opened her applied ballistics program, fingers tracing across the tablet as the Kestrel 5700 fed live readings: elevation 8, Wandlarn F2, temperature 67 ngam, pressure 22.2 inch, wind at OP 8 mph its east-northeast, valley gradient gusts 12 to 20 km/h. Rangefinder confirmed 3,200 meters. At that distance, the bullet would be in flight for 3.9 seconds. 3.9 seconds, enough time to question everything you've ever believed about possibility. Chief, came Brennan's voice over comms, half amused, half dismissive. You're not seriously plotting that? Are you? She didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the digital wind overlay. The valley shimmered like heat itself was laughing. She thought of her mother again, of snowfields in Wyoming, the rhythmic crunch of skis, the voice that taught her how to lower her pulse until the world stood still. Stillness isn't silence. Her mother used to say, it's control. Hayes recorded the values, then began calibrating her reticle holds, 5.2 mils elevation, 2.0 mils left windage. The numbers etched themselves into her brain. Behind her, one of the rangers muttered, "You can't hit that. Not even God could hit that." Hayes smiled faintly, the kind that never reached her eyes. "Good thing I'm not asking for permission." She adjusted the bipod a half-inch, the rifle breathing with her heartbeat. Then movement. Through the scope. She caught at a man dragging the hostage from the interior building to the courtyard. A camera followed. The air changed. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. Her radio came alive. All stations. Possible execution setup. Assault team still 30 minutes out. Do not engage. Hayes's hand hovered over the safety. 30 minutes. Mercer had maybe 3. She keyed the mic once. "Raven actual. This is Overwatch. I have eyes on the executioner." Static answered her. Then Brennan's voice. Harder this time. "Negative. Navy. Wait for the team. You fire. We lose the element of surprise." Hayes looked through the scope again. The executioner raised the knife sunlight glinting off the blade like a signal from another world. 3.9 seconds. That's all it would take. She exhaled slowly, the edges of the world shrinking until only the reticle remained. "Surprise," she whispered, "is overrated," and as her finger found the trigger's curve, the scene cut to black, the calm, before the shot that would silence everyone who ever doubted her. The radio hissed like a warning snake before the voices came through. "Ranger 6 to Overwatch. Negative on engagement. Repeat, do not take the shot." Chief Petty Officer Arin Blackwood Hayes didn't blink. Through her scope. She watched the executioner pull Ethan Mercer into the courtyard, hands bound, knees forced into the dirt. The man beside him adjusted a cheap DSLR on a tripod. The frame was perfect. That alone told her how many times they'd done this before. "Chief, stand down." Staff Sergeant Kyle Brennan ordered again, his tone sharpening. "You'll compromise the mission." Mission. She thought. There wouldn't be a mission left in 2 minutes. The Rangers crowded around the Overwatch station, eyes flicking from her screen to her face. They could read it, the quiet calculation of someone who wasn't asking anymore. Hayes's voice came level. "No tremor. Ranger 6, they're prepping execution." "Confirm silence." Then Brennan again. Lower now. "Confirmed. But we hold the line. Wait for the team." Wind tugged at her hood. Through the Leupold Mark 5 HD, the image wavered, distorted by heat. She adjusted the parallax, clearing the view until it felt like the barrel reached all the way to that courtyard. Inside her headset, a ranger whispered, "If she fires and misses, they'll kill him for sure." Hayes didn't look away. "If I don't fire," she said softly, "they'll do it anyway." The words hit the room like a slap. No one answered. She tapped the Kestrel 5700 again, cross-checking wind drift, humidity, air density. She updated the ballistic computer. 3,200 meters, 5.2 mil elevation, 2.0 mil left wind. The math didn't care about permission. It only cared about physics. Raven standing orders allowed Overwatch to engage when an imminent. Unpreventable execution threatened a life Hayes had seconds, not treaties. To justify the shot? She glanced once toward Brennan. "Sir, I've got one clean window." He shook his head. "You're Navy, not command. You shoot. You answer for it." "Copy," she said quietly, and muted her mic. Her heartbeat slowed to 42. The valley wind roared, dying and returning like waves. Time began to distort. She remembered her mother's voice, soft, distant, precise, Don't chase perfection. Arin, breathe into it. She did. One long inhale, one pause. The camera operator crouched, counting down to begin the propaganda recording. The executioner raised the knife, mouth opening to deliver his lines. The world inside the scope became colorless, just light, motion, and the exact geometry of death. Behind her. Brennan stepped closer, realizing too late what she was doing. Blackwood, don't... She didn't hear him. Her finger found the trigger's curve, light as glass. The TAC-50's safety clicked off, barely audible, but every ranger in that room froze. One whispered, "She's really gonna..." The muzzle shifted half an inch. Her breathing stopped. She whispered, "For the record. Sergeant, this isn't about permission. It's about time." Her fingertip began to tighten, 1 pound of pressure. Then 2, outside. A gust hit the ridge, sand swirling across the observation post. The camera in the courtyard flickered, then cut to black. The rifle hadn't fired yet, but the silence before it did felt heavier than war itself. The world exhaled, then the rifle did too. The Macmillan TAC-50 roared, a thunderclap of recoil and light. Dust exploded outward from the muzzle brake in a 20-foot halo. Every ranger on the ridge ducked by reflex, their shouts drowned beneath the echo rolling down Korai Valley. Chief Petty Officer Arin Blackwood Hayes never flinched. Her body absorbed the shock, eyes welded to the scope. Through the shimmering air, she tracked the round's invisible flight, thrice 200 meters. 3.9 seconds of pure physics and prayer at launch. The 750-grain 50 BMG round tore through the thin mountain air at 820 meters per second. It climbed higher than a 2-story building, spinning at 300,000 RPM. The wind shoved right. The Coriolis effect tugged left. Gravity waited patiently. 3 seconds. A lifetime! The camera operator down in the courtyard never even looked up. The executioner was still speaking when the impact came. The bullet hit center mass, vaporizing bone and breath alike. The man collapsed without a sound, knife clattering against stone. For one heartbeat, nobody on either side of the valley moved. Then chaos detonated, guards scattered, shouting, firing into empty ridgelines. The camera toppled. Ethan Mercer twisted sideways, rolling into cover, using his bound elbows to drag himself behind a low wall on the ridge. Staff Sergeant Brennan stared, half in awe, half in disbelief. What was that, range again?" he muttered. Hayes's voice was calm, flat, and terrifyingly precise. 3200, logged, her spotter, a young ranger corporal who had mocked her 2 days ago, whispered, "Holy hell, that was 4 clicks." Brennan keyed his radio, still watching the valley, all stations, hostage alive, enemy in full retreat. I say again, hostage alive. No one answered at first. They were all still watching her. Hayes cleared the spent casing, set it beside her logbook. She could feel her pulse again now, steady, deliberate. The smell of burnt powder and brass clung to the air, down in the valley. Mercer crawled out from the shadow of the wall, dazed but alive. Drones circling overhead caught the moment, one man kneeling, one lifeless body beside him, and the sun cutting through the dust like judgment. The assault team arrived 28 minutes later. They never fired a shot. The Taliban fighters had already vanished, convinced death itself had reached across the sky. Back on the ridge. Brennan approached slowly. For once, he didn't have anything sarcastic to say. That was... He stopped, searching for words that didn't exist. Hayes didn't look up. That was math. But she smiled barely. It wasn't pride. Not yet. It was relief threaded with disbelief, like she couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. Behind her. The Rangers began to whisper the distance again, 3,200. The number passed from one to the next until it sounded like legend being born in real time. Brennan finally said it out loud. "You just changed the record books." Hayes chambered another round, scanning the horizon. "Then let's hope I don't have to prove it again." The wind shifted, carrying away the smoke, and as the camera panned across her calm face, one unanswered question lingered in the air. Would command call it a miracle or a mistake? The debrief room smelled of coffee and disbelief. Paperwork stacked high, brass everywhere. But no one seemed to know what to say. Chief Petty Officer Arin Blackwood Hayes sat quietly at the end of the table. Uniform dust-stained, hair pulled back tight. Across from her, Staff Sergeant Brennan stood before the task force board, his voice steady, but his eyes still somewhere in the valley. "I've been a sniper for 11 years, he said. "I've seen shots that defied logic. But what Chief Hayes did today wasn't luck or miracle. It was applied physics, discipline, and the courage to pull the trigger when everyone else froze." The room fell silent. Even the ceiling fans seemed to hesitate. A legal officer cleared his throat. "Range confirmed," Brennan nodded once. 3,200 meters. Verified by drone telemetry and satellite overlay. Murmurs rippled through the officers. But Hayes didn't move. She simply opened her range logbook, where a single line of handwriting captured everything that mattered. Shot logged. Target neutralized. Hostage alive. Weeks later. An envelope arrived through official channels, no return address, just a folded letter. It was from Ethan Mercer. "You gave me back to my daughters." It read, "There are no words big enough for that." Hayes read it once, folded it again, and tucked it inside the back cover of her range book. Then she went back to the range. Same rifle, same wind, same silence. The whispers of disbelief had changed tone now, respect threaded through them. But she never chased validation. She only chased precision. Because, in the end, bullets don't care about rank, gender, or reputation. They care about truth, about the steady hands and quiet hearts that guide them toward it. The difference between doubt and history is a single heartbeat of courage. And sometimes, all it takes to silence the world is one impossible shot.